Dr. Halsey, you're bending history for your own favor, and you know it. You developed the Spartans to crush human rebellion, not to fight the Covenant.
When one human world after another fell, when my Spartans were all that stood between humanity and extinction, nobody was concerned about why they were originally built.
So you feel in the end your choices were justified.
My work saved the human race.
Guys, I get it. I finally get it. I've talked a lot about Halo and what I don't like about it, but I get it. Like I don't know what happened.
It's the most shocking statement I've heard out of your mouth all year, to be honest with you.
Yes, so welcome everybody to the Loading Bar. We're talking about Halo 4 today. I have with me the esteemed Mr. Jason Murphy.
Hello.
And Dr. Kevin J. Baird.
Hello.
And I am Jeff, and we're going to talk a little bit about Halo 4. But yeah, I don't know what it is, but like I kind of started playing this game, and I was like, just shooting stuff, and it seemed like the longer I played it, I don't know if somebody was like coming to my house and putting psychotropic drugs in the tap water or spiking my food with some kind of mind alteration stuff. But after about 8 hours of this game, I was like, I like it. I like this game, and I like it a lot, actually, which was the most...
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a surprise to me.
WTF? Who are you?
It's funny because I thought about it for a long, long time, and, like, I think I figured it out. I think I know what's up with Halo, and I think that it all just comes down to, like, if you like this kind of game, then... of course you're going to not want them to change it or try new things with it or do funky shit with it. You're just going to want to play like these just iterations on the same game, and that's not a bad thing. Like, if you liked the way that Halo played, then of course you're going to be the sort of person who doesn't want them to be making it into a stealth puzzle game or a real-time cooking game or anything like that. You're going to want to play yourself some goddamn Halo, and I got news. This is a goddamn Halo game through and through. So
okay, you scared me there for a minute. I thought I drank the Kool-Aid and blah. No, okay.
No, it's weird because I was just thinking about the way that I like to video games, because I don't know how it is with you guys. This is maybe a good stuff to just go off on a little tangent real fast, but I'm a junkie for new stuff.
Okay.
I love me some new games, and whenever it's like, hey, I want to learn all these buttons, and I want to learn how the armor upgrade system works, and I want to, figure out how to min-max this character or what's going on. Like, that stuff really appeals to me, but I realize now that probably just doesn't appeal to everyone, as evidenced by the fact that games like this and Call of Duty and certain other games, I mean, I'm not comparing the two, but like they remain fairly similar year after year, and people like it because they don't want these series to get ruined by trying to go out on a limb and get all wacky and funky and stuff.
Okay. Whereas my sentiment is, this shit again.
Yeah, I also may be running at an advantage of the fact that I played Halo 1, 2, and 3 a good, 10 years ago. So it's not like, I'm sure that within the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm done now. I'm totally burned out. Fuck this. I'm back.
I moved on.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, played a few hours of the multiplayer, finished the single-player campaign, done. Put that on the shelf.
Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's go ahead and do our normal thing and start out with the single-player campaign. This is the continuing story of Master Chief, who probably has the smelliest armor in the universe. He's only been wearing it for the last 5 or 10 years or whatever.
No, that comes with built-in Febreze.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, totally.
Just like one of those things in the gym that just sprays randomly, like Febreze right in his face.
Cortana, Febreze me. Sure, Chief. Spritzing now.
And Cortana, his psycho, crazy computer girlfriend, waking up.
Isn't that how it always goes?
Yeah, you can't trust those computer bitches, man.
She's helpful and cute, and then she goes fucking crazy on you a little bit later.
Why does the hologram girl have to press buttons on the display screen to make things happen with the computer? That was completely confusing to me.
Cyber bros over cyber hoes. That's my policy, you guys. But
unless you're like Master Chief and they're all dead.
Well, this is true. So apparently, for those of you who haven't played through, I mean, Reach and ODST were kind of side stories, but at the end of Halo 3, the Master Chief found himself floating through space on half a big spaceship, and decided to go into cryostasis to not die. And at the beginning of this game, you get woken up over this giant Forerunner planet called Requiem, and there's some Covenant there, and there's some UNSC there, and holy shit, within about an hour, this game has basically put you into the same story that you've been playing. Well, it's a slightly different story, but you're still chewing up a bunch of Covenant dudes, and you've still got a bunch of UNSC dudes with you. So, I mean, there are a few things that I have a problem with in this game, and that's one of them, that I just feel like you did all this work to set me up in this new place, and they had that E3 trailer that showed these new enemies, and they're all troned up and shit. And when you start the game, it really just feels like a retread of some of the previous Halo games. Which,
yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean,
Yes.
could definitely turn you off if you're like, hey, I want something brand new. And you're like, no, here's that same gun you've been using for 5 games. Shoot
But at the
those
same
guys.
time, you've got a brand new developer, and I think if they swayed from that, if they said, "Hey, we're going to introduce all this new stuff," then people would be like, "It's not the same Halo anymore."
That could have killed the
Bungie's gone.
franchise. Yeah.
Right. So I think they were trying to play it safe in a way.
And
Originally, 343 was like, okay, we're going to take Halo 4 in more of a police academy direction.
we got Steve Guttenberg out of retirement. He's going to be the voice of Master Chief. I will say, speaking of 343, man, 343, you guys could lay off my nuts a little bit, because when the game starts, 343 has a little message up there like, hey, thanks for playing our game. I hope you guys like us. We like you a lot. And then when you beat the
We're
game,
so grateful.
they do the same thing. They're like, hey, thanks for playing our game. We're really happy that you liked it. Please keep buying our games.
We know Halo is important to you, and we want to be friends. And then there's a knock at the door, and it's like, hey, we're just seeing if you need anything done around the house. They're like the damn Mormons showing up, and yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. So 343, back off a little bit. I don't, that's cool. But what's interesting is that about, was it 3 or 4 missions into the game, you finally kind of start to run into this new enemy, which I'm going to kind of talk a little bit around it, because if you want to be surprised, I don't really know how much of a surprise this is, but whatever. Anyway, you get about 3 new enemy types and a whole bunch of new guns and equipment and things like that pop up from these guys. I honestly found their weaponry to be pretty generic. I mean, they have a laser machine gun that's a lot like a regular machine gun, and they have a
Did
laser...
we learn nothing from Bulletstorm?
Where is my leash? God damn it. I want to kick Covenant dudes into cactuses, for the love of God. But as happens in most of the Halo games, you become embroiled in a plot that's going to destroy all of mankind, and only one man and his psycho robot girlfriend can save the day. And from there, I don't know, like the beginning of this game, there's especially this one sequence that we saw in the happy hour where you're climbing up an elevator shaft and you have to dodge back and forth to avoid things. There's a sequence a little bit later where you're on the biggest goddamn truck I've ever seen in a video game.
That thing was awesome.
It was really cool, except that it didn't do shit. It just drove you from point to point. And then they were
had a giant gun on it.
yeah.
That's something.
And then they were like, hey, jump off this giant truck full of weapons and fight these guys with your little machine gun. It's like, can't we? A set piece or two. You're not fucking the franchise up that much. Come on. So, I mean, it's just one of the things in the single player that I felt like once you got past that intro, and then at the very end, they brought a little bit of it back in, that there were a few places where they could have jazzed it up a little bit more instead of just jump off of this thing and go play Halo for 10 minutes and then come back.
Here's my big problem is that most of the game, kind of tagging on to that, most of the game is like, Chief, go turn this off. Chief, go turn this on. Go turn this thing off now. Oh, that's not going to work unless you turn this on. I'm like, what is this, the beginning of fucking Dead Space? It's like I'm going and fixing shit now.
They definitely have that kind of Medal of Honor syndrome where it's like, Chief, go win World War II. We're all going to be back here. No, it's cool. So I mean, but for those of you who are curious about it, 99% of this game plays like Halo. You're jumping on warthogs, you're driving around, you're jacking Covenant and hitting them in the face. There are a few new enemies, like I said. There's only 3, and that stupid little, and they're all pretty goddamn irritating. There's the machine gun cat, which I hate those assholes, and then there's little flying bicycle jerks who bring people back to life, and I hate those assholes too. But
those guys suck. And then the main ones, yeah.
You
said you weren't going to spoil it, and then you went and kind of spoiled it.
Oh, I didn't tell who they were, where they came from. There's a bunch of Tron motherfuckers, right?
Sure, yeah. But that's the thing. There's so little variety in really anything in this game.
Yeah.
There's hardly any variety in the weapons. There's no variety in the enemies. It's all just rote shit. It's just a copy of a copy of Halo, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I cannot emphasize this enough that this game is going to come down to, do you like playing Halo? Because if you don't like playing Halo, don't get anywhere near this, because it's just a bunch of Halo, man. If you do like playing Halo, what a treat. So much more Halo for you.
That's going to be like the commercial for Halo 5 that you're going to see. It's Halo 5. What the fuck do you want us to say? Coming November.
I feel like this is the point where we need to get the loading bars, the sticker, like the taglines on boxes. Do you like Halo? Buy this shit. Jason Murphy, the loading bar.
Yeah, I think that Halo is really, the people that are into Halo really are into it mainly for the multiplayer aspects. The single player always seems to be a little bit short, and it's there to kind of progress the story and introduce some new stuff. But I think since at least going all the way back to the second one, I mean, I think the multiplayer has always really been the shining light in the series.
Yes. Well, and before we get to that, I would like to say that one of the things that really started to get on my nerves is all of the damn pseudoscientific jargon that is spat out, mostly by Cortana.
Mm-hmm.
There's just all of this sci-fi bullshit that I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, is that supposed to mean something? What am I in the engine room of the Enterprise? Because I'm pretty sure all of those words you just made up.
She's got to reverse the polarity on the tachyon stream, Jason.
Oh,
it's the
God,
only way to depolarize the forward deflector gauge.
Chief, the sublight attenuators are cascading at a dangerous frequency. I need to interface my post-organic uplink with their core oscillation unit. It's like, just tell me what to fucking kill, okay?
Which switch do I turn to which direction? Do you need this on or off at this point?
Exactly. It's like, what is that USB? Is that what you're asking me to do?
That's scuzzy wide, man. Scuzzy.
Scuzzy.
But it's actually interesting that you bring that up, because at the point where the big bad guy for this game comes out, I actually had really no goddamn idea what was going on. And so I went out and started reading the Wikipedia article about Halo, and it got me into the wiki spiral, as it is, where you end up, reading like 15 different articles. And what I came to find out is that, I mean, like, we had that email show where people were talking about Halo being a good sci-fi series. There is actually a shit ton of awesome sci-fi in Halo. It's all in web shorts and books and comics and stuff in the background, and when you come in and you read this stuff, I was just sitting there like, this is sci-fi that is on par with like Mass Effect. Why aren't you dragging this shit out to the front and putting it in my face? Because like when the big bad guy shows up in this game, I was like, who the fuck is that? Why is everybody afraid of him? I'm not afraid of him. He's stupid looking. I just want to shoot him in the face. Screw that guy.
Well, funny you should mention Mass Effect, Jeff. Because, wow, there are so many plot points that are very similar to the whole Reaper struggle. Spoiler. I mean, that's as far as I'm going to go into it.
Yeah.
And given the development cycle of these, I really don't think it was intentional. But there's a lot of stuff there that has really become. It's because it's one of your big sci-fi tropes.
You know what? That's what it is. I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say that the original Halo had a lot of those plot points in it before Mass Effect.
Right.
But like I said to somebody in one of the comment streams, it's because they're all pulling from the same science fiction. The fathers of science fiction. But it's another thing that like I can't really like. I'm not really want to like take any points off of this game, but because they're kind of relaunching this new series and this is kind of a good stepping on point for people who may not have played the game before. I feel like it would have been really, really helpful to have put more of that plot front and center instead of just using it as what could be considered a really shallow backdrop for the shooting, when there's actually a lot going on back there. It's just that they hide it from you. And I would have rather seen more of that up front. So.
One of the funny things I think about the single player is that it's become very clear that this entire galaxy is littered with spent weapons. It's like there's a planet out there made just of guns. Of guns that have no bullets left.
Just on the ground.
It's like every 30 seconds. It's like, okay, new gun. Okay, out of bullets, new gun. Out of bullets, new gun.
It was a weird thing to get used to in this game. How I'm so used to, especially in a lot of the Modern Warfare games and Battlefield and stuff like that. We've kind of gotten to this point where a lot of modern games have gone to giving you a gun and giving you enough ammo to play the entire mission with this one gun. Whereas Halo is just like, nah, fuck it, dude. Don't get attached to that shit because you're not going to be using it for more than about 5 minutes before you got to pick up the next laser sword.
And it's not like there was a scarcity. Mm-hmm. Of guns or anything. It's like once you ran out of bullets, you just picked up another gun because they're like falling from the fucking sky.
Yeah.
There's guns everywhere. It's like don't get too like you said, don't get too attached to this one because now you're gonna have to pick up and use this one. There were just guns everywhere, and it became very, very tedious.
I don't know. I mean,
just give me clips. Let me run over clips instead of having to switch weapons all the time.
I kind of felt like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I could definitely see where that would be irritating. I mean, I finally got to the point when I was playing the game where I just kind of accepted it and was like, all these guns are kind of equally effective, and so it's just like, all right, what am I doing now? Needler, all right, whatever. I mean, it kind of got to the point where I just didn't care. As long as it makes that guy over there dead, I don't give a fuck what it is.
Well, that's the thing, is that most of them were the same damn thing anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there's only about 4 or 5 kind of classes of guns in this game, and they have slight variations between the two of them. So I guess before we move on into the multiplayer, which is going to be kind of a big chunk of this, I did just want to briefly touch on the fact that I felt like the graphical overhaul that 343 has done on the Halo series was really nice in this game.
Oh, it was gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, I went back and played the demo for Reach, and I was like, ugh. This is gross looking. Like, where's all the environmental effects and the lighting and the particles and stuff that's going on? Like, the game itself never got to a point where I was just like, I'm tired of looking at this. There was always a lot of really cool architecture and just the stuff around. Sounded really good. All that stuff was, I feel, top notch. And the nice thing about it was that it was all top notch. Plus, the game ran at a really nice frame rate. Like, it never chugged, it never slowed down. It was always just snapping right along. At top speed.
Nice voice work too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that in the multiplayer as well, and architecturally, I really felt like the game wasn't lagging on me, and I felt like the hitboxes in that were excellent. I know we're kind of going over there now to talk about that, but the I don't know. A lot of times you aim at something far away with a sniper gun in games, and you fire at it, and you don't hit anything, and you're like, I swear to God, I had that guy lined up, and I know I hit him and it didn't work. And in here, I really felt like everything was very precise. It was really enjoyable.
Actually, yeah, like it felt well. Plus, one of the really nice things about the multiplayer for this is that, like, especially when you're sniping or shooting at somebody, they have that effect where when you shoot them, like, you see their shield, like, kind of do this little yellow danciness,
right? Where
you can actually tell that you're hitting them instead of just shooting and shooting and shooting, and then what the fuck? I mean, what's going on here? So yeah, let's get into the multiplayer. I feel like the biggest change that people need to know about this is that Halo has finally is not the right word, but has kind of started to adopt some of the Modern Warfare or the Call of Duty unlock and kitting systems that you've seen in the multiplayer over there, where you have a loadout for your Spartan, and as you go up in level, you unlock these points that you can use to buy new starting guns, and you have about 5 slots: the main gun, subgun, armor abilities, grenades, and then there's like 2 more like enhancements that you can attach to your guy, as well as unlocking armor, and which is purely cosmetic, and a bunch of different stuff like that. And so the game, as I understand it, because I didn't play a lot of the multiplayer, has kind of moved a little bit from everybody starting with the same weapons, then picking stuff up around the map, to this more open-ended type of thing where there's still weapons around the map for you to pick up, but you have a choice about like kind of what primary weapon you want to start with, and you can do a little bit more customization as you move up in the ranks there. Which, I mean, it felt like, just like in Modern Warfare we've seen all along, it felt like there was a carrot there. There was something to work for. Like, I want to get to the next level. I want to get the next thing so that I can get more powerful, so I can kill more guys. But I want to hear more about what you guys' experience in multiplayer. So why don't you two take it away?
It was mostly me running, screaming, and trying to find a place to hide.
Well, I played with Kevin last night. It sounds like you guys had some similar experiences.
Yeah, I was really interested in taking the little four-wheeler and trying to run over people more than shoot them. I get a very big kick out of that, just blasting the horn because that's all you can do, and just trying to run over guys.
Yeah, because these guys don't do that strafing jump like all the enemies do in the single player.
Yeah. Well, it was actually really funny when Kevin and I were playing because he would pull up to me from time to time, be like, "Get on!" And after the first few times, I was like, I don't know if I want to get on the death buggy again, Kevin. Because Kevin would just lay on the horn to that thing and then drive into the biggest group of guys he can see trying to run him over. Meanwhile, I'm on the back like, oh, God, let me off this crazy thing.
Yeah, that was one of my big techniques. I loved that, but a lot of times it was on accident. Mm-hmm. So I would get into a Jeep or something, and someone would hop in, someone I didn't know, and I never used my headset, so I had no way of telling them, no, you really don't want to get in this ride with me. This is going to end really badly. And it's like, if I'm going to end up upside down within the next 15 seconds. And you're going to think that's okay. And then I'm going to ride a little bit farther, and we're going to be upside down again. And then we're going to go about maybe 20 more feet, and we're going to be upside down again, and you're going to think this asshole noob, and you're going to want to kill me. And he's going to be right.
You know, it's actually really funny. When I played the multiplayer, I expected to just get absolutely trounced by people online who've been playing this for a number of years. But I found as I was playing that it seems like one of the things that's maybe something I never really realized about the Halo multiplayers, it seems like everything in the game kind of has like a rock, paper, scissors type of thing to it. That it's really well balanced, and that, you know, if you're further away with a certain type of gun and the guy gets close to you, there's ways to get around snipers, there's ways to get around vehicles, there's ways to get around rocket launcher guys. And so you can kind of just adjust your strategy as time goes on to deal with whatever the current threat is, like two assholes and a warthog that nobody seems to be able to kill no matter how much we shoot at them. Sorry.
Yeah, I actually preferred, because there's deathmatch, and then there's, stuff like
Slayer, Jason.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, Slayer.
Yes.
Whatever. Yeah. And then Regicide, mm-hmm. which that one, played a little bit of that one, which I liked, because the guy with the most kills becomes the target, or mm-hmm. the king, and yep. I was never that guy, so nobody was ever really trying very hard to kill me.
Flood is pretty good. Flood was pretty cool.
Flood was cool. That was neat.
Yeah, where basically like it's everybody, only a couple of people are Flood and everybody else are Marines with shotguns, and then the Flood only have melee weapons, but every time you kill a guy, they turn into Flood, and so the humans are trying to kind of like hold out, kind of a zombie-ish type of mode. It was fun. I played a little bit of that. I mean, I mostly stuck to Big Team Slayer, but it seems like they had a fair amount of things that if you wanted to kind of go in and play around more with some of the other modes, there's definitely a lot of incentive to do so.
Yeah.
New vehicle. What's that big thing called?
The Mantis.
The Mantis.
Yeah. Yes. One new vehicle in this game. Giant walking mech of death, and fuck, I love it. I love that thing. I especially like stomping on guys with that thing. I just meleeed you with a robot, pal.
Yeah, it's like it took you 6 Halo games to get a mech in there? What were you thinking, Bungie?
And it's funny too, because I kind of went into the multiplayer for this dreading having to play it, and then within, like, I was like, oh, okay, all right, God, it's Halo, I'm gonna suck at this and blah blah. Within 2 hours, I was like, fuck you, noob, I totally stuck a grenade to you. I don't know where all that came from, but I found myself, actually, after I've been playing this enough for review, I still kind of had a desire to keep going back in and play the multiplayer.
I actually did like to capture the flag in the Dominion type stuff, because the Dominion is, capture, basically take a point and then defend it. As your flag is raised, such as it is,
You mean Battlefield?
Battlefield, yeah. Okay, we'll call it that. Yeah, and that's guys. That's why I always like Battlefield, because I'm good at that. It's like let's find this point and let's find a good place to hide around it. And if somebody sneaks up and thinks you're going to take this flag and thinks that it's all left out in the open, we're going to shoot them in the back, and then we're going to go find another place to hide in case somebody saw us shoot from that other hiding spot.
Yeah,
and capture the flag. I always like that one, because a lot of times people are just focused on killing each other, like it's deathmatch. deathmatch. Meanwhile, I'm just hauling ass for the flag and hauling ass back. Because if I have to interact with somebody, I'm going to come out on the losing end of that firefight every time.
Well, let's see. I guess speaking of the Mantis, it should be noted that there were a couple of human air units that got taken out, or air vehicles that got taken out of this particular game. I was talking with some folks last night about some of the changes that got made. One of the other really interesting things about multiplayer that I thought was great was they also have a system in place. I can't remember what the hell it was called, where when you get a certain number of kills, it gives you the ability to drop in either like it gives you 3 random choices of either a heavy weapon or a machine gun or like some kind of armor power up. But that meter keeps filling up. Even it goes. It's not a kill streak, like it goes even with your death. So eventually you tend to get that, and it's a great way when you have that to kind of pull down some of the weapons that you can't actually equip for multiplayer, and it really kind of changes the balance of how you're playing in a way that I thought was, just really rewarding when you kind of get used to it.
I say this, and I'll say it again. I really think that Halo is kind of like the Madden of first-person shooters, that you can pick it up and play it, and you don't feel like you're getting your ass handed to you as you do in a lot of these other first-person shooter games that requires a little bit more finesse or something. I mean, I don't want to take away from the crazy Halo fan that's going to tell me how great it is over everything else. It's just that it just has more entry level written all over it, which to me is great because I just like that it's pick up and play, and I don't have to we were talking about using the sniper rifle in a lot of other games. When you're like zooming in, you've got to like hold down the hold your breath button so the aimer doesn't move around. And here you don't got to do that. You just zoom in, just crack the guy in the head and he dies. It's like, woohoo, victory,
Plus, I was thinking about it while I was playing. Is one of the things that so often turns me off to a lot of modern military shooters is you're running along, you've got your kit, you're like, all right, let's do this, and then you're just like, boop, dead. Like not a firefight, but just some guy got behind you and shot you twice, and now you're dead. And what I like about Halo is that even when somebody's rolling up into your face shooting at you with a machine gun, it takes a couple of seconds for them to take you down. So you at least have a second to react, and whether that's just throwing a grenade at them or trying to get out of the way or trying to back up or whatever, there's a lot of, you have a little bit more leeway to actually do stuff, to actually fight with somebody, instead of just it's who saw who first and who snapped that headshot before the other person did.
Yeah, unless you take that tank blast to the face, then
yeah. I mean, but even the tanks are nice because you can still on foot, you can get up behind them and put a grenade on them, and if you let a guy get too close, like that's the end of your tank. And so I just feel like there's a good balance so that it never feels like anybody has the God configuration. Like there's somebody that's just indestructible and so good at this game that you can't get at them in one way or another if you just, kind of mess around with it. So I guess the only other thing that we probably need to fit in here is just briefly talk about Spartan Ops. Which is a single-player, or it's a multiplayer co-op mode that, at least from what I was talking to a few people about, it seems like it's replaced Firefight. It's kind of like the main co-op mode in this. And it's a kind of a semi-story-driven mode about about a certain group of Spartans doing these objectives for folks on the Infinity, which is the carrier that is in the single player mission. And it's going to be a whole season where they're releasing new episodes, 1 per week. You basically have 5 different missions that you can play with up to, I think it's 4 other people or 3 other people that are decent. They're good.
They're just fun little diversions. There's nothing great about them. It's just like incremental little bits of Halo that they're small enough and there's enough going on there that I think you and your friends might end up replaying them over and over.
Yeah.
I can totally see that happening.
I mean, I played the second season last night, and it seemed like a lot of the maps they were using were either very small variations on the season 1 maps or exactly the same map. And I don't know, because I was, there's shit going on everywhere, and there were different enemies in there, but it seems like the sort of thing that, over the next few weeks they're going to be releasing these episodes, and they're worth playing. It's a good incentive not to trade the game back in if you're only playing it for the single player, but
why in the hell would you do that?
Good question. But I feel like, I don't know, they could be, it remains to be seen whether they become a little bit more elaborate as time goes on. But they just feel like a little bit of a good tack on. And like I said, this is kind of what's replaced the Horde mode, the Firefight mode from previous Halo games, which, I don't know, man. Part of me says after playing that multiplayer, I think I would have maybe rather had a Horde mode, but I don't, it's still a decent mode, and the missions don't take all that long to finish, and there's a good incentive to go back and replay them because you get points that you can use in the multiplayer. So it's a good way to get points without having to go online into the gauntlet. So good, nothing to write home about.
I just wanted to mention a little bit of weirdness with the multiplayer, that I've never really experienced before, is that the second disc actually just has to be installed, which you get these games that they install in the beginning some stuff, like Assassin's Creed, like installed all this stuff for a while where you're just basically, you get the game and then you go eat something while the game's getting started. And here it's like a whole disc that you just install it and then you never need to put that disc back in your system again, which I found to be, I don't know. I guess I'm getting to the point now where I almost feel like games should just be downloadable if the whole thing is just going to install itself on my hard drive. Well, I guess that's that's just a conversation for another time.
Oh, well, it's actually worth noting that disc can be downloaded instead of installed.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect example of what I was just saying. Yes, that's fine. I don't know. I always just kind of like console games to be pick up and play as soon as I buy them, and lately there's just been a real trend where I get the game and then I got to wait, and that just bothers me.
There's also, I guess, 2 or 3 things to make sure that we catch before we get done here. The game does have the Forge mode from previous games where you can kind of customize your own maps and play them with people. As a side note to that installation thing, I have the Xbox 360 that doesn't have the hard drive in it, that just has like the 2 gigs on board or whatever.
Because Jeff is cheap.
I am cheap. No. I'm cheap. That's right. And it's worth noting that if you have that Xbox 360, it does not save any of your multiplayer recordings. So you can't go back later on and watch stuff that's happened or edit together little movies or whatever, which is kind of a shame. But if you want that, it's just something to note. And finally, there's another thing that kind of comes with the Halo 4, and it is the Waypoint app that also has to be downloaded and installed before you can use it. But it's actually a really interesting little app that has multiplayer statistics, and it has a lot of kind of just little videos. Actually, it has a lot of backstory and codices for the game. Like, I think that a lot of the stuff, like the whole Forward Unto Dawn short and a bunch of the anime stuff and a bunch of the other stuff that they produced for Halo is all in there in video form that you can stream and you can watch. The only thing is that you do have to launch that as a separate application. It takes you out of Halo and you have to launch back into Halo. Kind of a pain in the ass, but like if you're interested in the extended universe of Halo, there's a lot of video in there to watch because I think they've.
Thanks, I'm not at all.
So I guess that's about it. I don't think we've missed anything else, guys. What do you think?
Let's see. The Forge is still there, like you were saying, and I actually had a lot of fun playing with that. Yeah, because it's just like, hey, the only enemies are the ones I put on here, and then I'm going to get just a bunch of ships and crash them into each other, and it ended up looking like the playground of a complete lunatic.
How many tanks can you put in a map before your Xbox just catches on fire and dies? Well, why don't we go ahead and give some ratings, guys? What do you think?
You first, Kevin.
Are you abstaining?
Well, I didn't play all the way through the first single player game, so I don't want to give it an overall review. But I will say that if you if you like Halo, this is a very competent Halo, and I think the multiplayer with the expanded rank up system that they got there, loadout, whatever, is much better than it has been in the past, and I think the game is still a lot of fun in the multiplayer world. And the single player, it's there. I mean, at least they didn't say like it's multiplayer only this time. But I didn't get all the way through it, so I don't know if it's got one of those Assassin's Creed 3 Mass Effect endings type of thing where everybody's going to be angry about it.
No, it's a setup for the new trilogy, but it resolves the story arc from 4 without that much of an issue. So, Jason, you want to go?
I did not. I still don't care for Halo.
Okay.
I still do not give a shit about Halo. Although I did find myself appreciating the gravitas of the interactions between Cortana and Chief, especially as Cortana went rampant and Chief determined to save her and everything. I liked that. But yeah, the single player was just really repetitive and uninspired and bland. The multiplayer was chaotic, and I sucked at it. That said, This game is a full price. This is, if you like Halo, you'll love more of Halo. It's the single player. You know, it's if you liked it, you're not buying this for the single player. You'll play through it anyway, and you'll probably appreciate it as it fleshes out the story. But you're really buying it for the multiplayer, which is very rich and refined. There are a lot of options there, and they are changing things up and improving things without changing what people came to it for to begin with. So if you like this, I mean, if you like Halo, you are going to want this for the multiplayer, because it is it's just them perfecting something that millions of people already love.
Fair enough.
But that said, fuck Halo. I don't care.
Personally, I was really surprised by this game, and I had a hell of a lot of fun with it. I think the single player was decent. Like I said, I wish they would have pulled a little bit more of the story front and center. I think they could have used a few more enemies in the single player, maybe a set piece or two that was a little bit more grandiose than what they had. But you know, that's not really what Halo's about. And I found that the more I played this, the more I kind of got on board with it, the more I got used to the controls and the weapons and stuff like that, the more I ended up liking it. And it kind of just was giving me the lizard brain jollies that you get out of multiplayer shooters when you're stabbing some dude in the back or shooting a rocket at somebody and going, yeah, fuck you. So I think that all in all, they've taken a few things out, but the stuff that they've added is well worth the price. I think it's a good first outing for 343, and I hope that this sets them up to maybe do a little bit more, you know, in the next game, maybe make a few more changes and see what they can do. So I'm going to give this a high full price. I'm really close to giving it a better than sex, but there's just a couple of things that I feel like kind of hold it back just a little bit. Like, I feel like there's an even better game in here than what I played.
It's like I don't even know you. What the hell is going on?
You know, I tell you what though, you say I can't stop thinking about where is the fuck up police academy squad of Spartans in this game? Because if they were ever going to make a spin-off, I want the ones with Jones and Hightower and Tackleberry just stumbling over each other in that armor, making the noises with their helmet to fool the Covenant.
Wake up, John! Chief! John!
I'm here.